Hello, welcome to 88 Pet Smart. I'm Cheng Ho. Today we are going to do a major trimming of the tank, so I think that we should show you what we're going to do. So let's take a look over here. Alright, so this is the tank that I was mentioning. As you can see, it's now pretty overgrown. It's on purpose actually. So a little bit of backstories. This tank we haven't done any proper trimming for the tank for a very long time. So what I mean is that sometimes we do need to trim the top parts and replant it, because there's a few reasons. If we only trim the top parts overgrown away, it will cause a few problems. One is that the lower leaf will start to decay and drop off, and you have a empty stem without any leaf. Or worst case scenario is that the roots itself, the branch itself will start to melt away. So you have plants that actually not rooted, they're just floating at the back there, like some of the case are the plants over here. So another reason is that some plants, like, we don't want them to split. Some plants actually will not split if you doesn't trim them. And also certain plants that are bigger in size, every time you trim them, they will have a smaller branches. When they have small branches, they have smaller leaf, which is okay if you look for that result, but sometimes it gets too small and doesn't look nice anymore. So last week I thought that that's enough for this tank. This tank definitely need to do some proper trimming. So last week I leave it overgrown until it reached this part because I want to have the upper parts to be replanted. So I leave it grown taller, longer a bit, so that I can trim at the bottom parts there and then replant the top parts to the back here. So today we're actually gonna do the background plants and the mid plants. So we're gonna start with trimming the background parts first. We're gonna do part by parts, left parts, and then after we finish this part, we're gonna do the right parts. So let's get started. But unfortunately, I injured my back yesterday, so I'm gonna have someone to help me. Cole. So he's gonna help me do whatever that I mentioned just now. So let's get started. So now we are going to start trimming the background plants by using the scissors over here. So like I said before, we are going to trim all the way to the bottom parts over here, and then we're going to reuse the top parts of the plants. So let's trim. So remember, we want to use the upper part, so we should trim as low as possible so that we get a lot of the upper parts, and it's more easier to us to replant later on. Okay, so now we have already trimmed the plants, so we are now arranging just different species separately, so that when we plant them, we can separate them individually so they have the scape that we want. Okay, as you can see, we have trimmed and removed all the plants on the left side of the scape, and actually not much of the older branch are left inside the aquarium. Most of the branches have already decayed and melt off, so actually we didn't even need to cut it off. We can just like scope the upper part off. So we have separated the plants that we trim out. So the plan is to plant back the plants at the original space, except for the Luija Super Red, where we are going to move it to a bit of the front because we noticed that it grows much more slower than the Rotunifolia Red. So initially the Super Red is at the back corner of the tank. So we are going to move it to the back of the woods over here, because I think it will look very nice, have the dark brown color of the wood contrasting the bright red of the Super Red. But because the Super Red have their leaf separated quite far apart, I'm going to cover the front of it with the Macandra narrow green. So this is more dense, so it can cover parts of the front of the Super Red. So let's start planting. Alright, so now we basically almost finished the left side of the aquarium. Let's take a look and I'll show you guys what we have done. So we have already replanted the plants at the back. Now we are moving to the mid-ground plants. We're removing all the Limnophilia sp Vietnam that have grown to this place, because this place actually belongs to the Hottonia. So we are trimming it down to the roots there because we want to prevent or maybe let the sp Vietnam to grow slower because we are rooting them. And we're going to replant the Hottonia back in here. And in the same time, we noticed we found this this plant over here. Actually, I forgot about it. I forgot the name. This is quite expensive. I think around RM 250. Yeah, I put it here and I forgot about it. It's actually been covered by the SP Vietnam. So we are trimming the SP Vietnam down to the roots, and then we're planting everything for the mid-ground, because the SP Vietnam have overgrown to not only their places, but overgrown to the other places, other spot of the plants. So yeah, unfortunately, we can't save the Luija SP Pink. We used to have it over here, but it got covered up by the Limnophilia SP Vietnam and the Hottonia as well. So I don't think we can save them. So yeah, let's continue. After we're done with here, we will go to the parts over there. So now we are done with the trimming and we replant all the plants back into the aquarium. Let's take a look. Right, so there you have it. That's how you do a major trimming. It's not necessary to do something like that every time you trim the plant. Sometimes it's okay to just trim the top of the plants. But in some cases, let's say like the lower parts of the plants the leaf have all melted. There's no leaf below there. You need to reuse the upper parts. Or for instance, some plants they would not split if you didn't trim them. And if you want the non-split lobe, you have to always replant the upper parts. And also, thirdly, the third reason is certain plants, whenever you trim them, the more often you trim them, the smaller the stem will become, the branches will become smaller, and then the leaf will become smaller as well. And if you don't want that to happen, you have to reuse the upper parts. So if you're going to reuse the upper part, remember that you are going to need a certain length of it. So you have to grow them to a certain length before you trim them and replant them. So that's all for today. If you have any questions, you can comment below. And if you like the video, give us a thumb up and remember to subscribe. Bye!